What happens when a lighthearted morning chat turns into a televised ambush? When a beloved comedian, expecting laughter and small talk, instead faces a storm of barbed remarks from a host who seems determined to draw blood? In under a minute, one question would destroy the illusion of civility and leave an entire studio in stunned silence. This is the story of how Lorraine Kelly pushed Ricky Gervais too far. The morning began like any other on the Lorraine show. Bright lights, cheerful music, and the comforting buzz of live television. Ricky Gervais entered with his usual grin, waving at the audience, who met him with warm applause. He was there to promote his new comedy special, talk about his love for animals, and share a few laughs. Harmless, easygoing television. But something was off. Lorraine's smile didn't quite reach her eyes. There was a stiffness in her posture, a tension the audience could feel but couldn't name. As Ricky settled onto the couch, that tension began to surface. "So, Ricky," Lorraine began, her tone sugar-coated but sharp underneath. "Another hour of you telling everyone how clever you think you are." A few awkward laughs rippled through the audience. Ricky chuckled politely. "I just try to make people laugh," he said. "Point out life's absurdities. That's what comedy's about." Lorraine leaned back, arms folded. "Absurdities, right? Some might say you just like offending people. That you hide behind free speech when really you're just mean." Ricky's smile faded slightly. "I don't think honesty is mean," he said calmly. "Comedy should make you think and laugh. If everyone's comfortable all the time, what's the point?" Lorraine's voice sharpened. "You talk about free speech, but who decides where the line is? You. You seem to think you can say whatever you want and call everyone else too sensitive." The room quieted. The mood had shifted. "I'm not above criticism," Ricky said evenly. "Criticism's fine. What's not fine is trying to silence people because you don't like what they say." Lorraine gave a thin, brittle smile. "So you admit you say things people don't like?" "Of course," he said. "That's comedy. Not everyone's supposed to agree with me. I'm not trying to please everyone." "Uncomfortable," Lorraine repeated. "Is that what you call it when you mock people's beliefs? When you make fun of things that are sacred to them?" "Nothing's sacred in comedy," Ricky replied. "If certain topics are off limits, then comedy stops being honest. It just becomes propaganda for whatever's popular." Lorraine laughed, a cold, dismissive sound. "Oh, you do love your big words, don't you? Let me ask something simpler." Her eyes narrowed. "Do you actually care about anyone other than yourself?" The audience gasped. Ricky blinked, caught off guard. "I'm sorry, what?" "You heard me," she said flatly. "Do you care about anyone else? Or is it all just about Ricky Gervais staying relevant?" Ricky straightened in his chair. "That's a hostile question, Lorraine. I came here to talk about my work, not to be attacked." "Attacked?" Lorraine scoffed. "I'm just asking questions. Isn't that what you always preach? Or does free speech only count when you're the one talking? There's a difference between a tough question and a cheap shot." Ricky said, his voice firm now. "You're calling me selfish without knowing me. I do a lot of charity work. I care deeply about animal rights and causes I believe in." Lorraine waved her hand dismissively. "Oh, the animal thing. Yes, we've all heard about your cat. Very moving. But what about people, Ricky? What about the ones you offend? Do you care about them? If someone doesn't like my jokes, they don't have to watch," Ricky replied. "I'm not forcing anyone to listen, but I won't apologize for doing my job." Lorraine smirked. "There it is. You think anyone who doesn't find you funny just doesn't have a sense of humor? Maybe, just maybe, you're not as funny as you think you are." Ricky stared at her, stunned. "What is this? Did I do something to you? Because this feels personal." "Everything's about you, isn't it?" Lorraine snapped. "Maybe I just think you're overrated. Maybe people are finally seeing through the act." The studio fell dead silent. Crew members shifted uneasily. Ricky rubbed his face, exhaling slowly. "I came here for a friendly chat." he said. Instead, I'm being insulted on live television. Why? I'm not insulting you, Lorraine replied coolly. I'm holding you accountable. Accountable for what? He shot back. For telling jokes? No one in the studio dared to breathe. The warmth of morning TV had vanished, replaced by something raw, cold, and unforgettable. For thinking you're better than everyone else! Lorraine snapped, her voice slicing through the studio air. For acting like you're the only one who understands how the world works. For being smug. Ricky laughed, but it wasn't the kind of laugh that invited others to join in. It was hollow tired. Smug, right? So you invited me on your show just to call me smug? I invited you on because people watch. Lorraine shot back, matter of fact. But that doesn't mean I have to pretend to like you, or think you're some kind of genius. I never asked you to, Ricky replied, steady but incredulous. I just expected basic professionalism. This is bizarre. Lorraine leaned in, her expression tightening. You know what's bizarre? That you've built an entire career on being offensive, and then act surprised when someone calls you out on it. I'm not surprised someone's calling me out, Ricky said, his tone rising slightly. I'm surprised that a professional broadcaster would invite me on just to insult me. That's not calling someone out. That's just being rude. Oh, now I'm rude, Lorraine mocked. The man who's made millions saying whatever he wants about whoever he wants thinks I'm rude. That's rich. There's context to comedy, Ricky explained, trying to rein in his frustration. When I'm on stage or doing a special, people know what they're getting. It's comedy. It's meant to provoke, to challenge. But this, he gestured to the set, is supposed to be an interview. That's a different context. Lorraine rolled her eyes. Oh, rules. You love rules when they benefit you. But when it comes to your jokes, suddenly it's all freedom and no boundaries. You can't have it both ways, Ricky. I'm not trying to have it both ways, he said, his patience wearing thin. I'm saying there's a time and a place for different kinds of discourse. And ambushing your guest with personal attacks? That's not discourse. That's unprofessional. Ambushing. Lorraine repeated with mock pity. Poor Ricky Gervais. Can dish it out but can't take it. This isn't about taking it, Ricky said sharply. I've dealt with criticism my whole career. I can handle it. But this isn't criticism. You're not talking about my work. You're just being nasty for the sake of it. Lorraine gave a small, icy smile. Maybe you're just not used to meeting someone who isn't impressed by you. I don't need anyone to be impressed by me, Ricky countered. But I do expect some basic courtesy. You're acting like I've wronged you personally. Maybe you have, Lorraine said quietly. Ricky frowned. What's that supposed to mean? It means maybe I'm tired, she said, her voice rising now. Tired of people like you. People who think they're untouchable. Who mock everyone else and then play the victim when someone finally pushes back. People who think rules don't apply to them. I'm not playing the victim, Ricky said firmly. I'm calling out the fact that you're being unprofessional. There's a difference. Unprofessional, Lorraine scoffed, leaning back. Coming from someone who built a career being unprofessional, that's rich. My comedy is my work, Ricky said. Provocation is part of the job, but right now, I'm not performing. I'm here as a guest, having what I thought was going to be a civil conversation. Lorraine laughed bitterly. You're never just a guest, Ricky. You're always performing. Always trying to be the cleverest man in the room. It must be exhausting. You know what's exhausting? Ricky replied, his tone hardening. Trying to have a reasonable conversation with someone who clearly came in with an agenda. I don't know what I did to upset you, but this is ridiculous. There you go again, Lorraine said, her voice dripping with disdain. Thinking everything's about you. Maybe it's not about what you did. Maybe it's about what you represent. Ricky narrowed his eyes. And what's that supposed to be? The arrogance, the self-importance, the belief that you can say whatever you want without consequences, she said, almost trembling now with restrained anger. I've never said there are no consequences, Ricky replied. People are free not to watch. They're free to criticize, even protest. That's fine. But you invited me here. I didn't force my way onto your show. You asked me to come. And now you're treating me like the villain. Maybe you are, Lorraine said quietly. The words hit the room like a slap. The audience froze. Excuse me? Ricky said slowly. Maybe you are the villain, she repeated, louder this time. Maybe this whole nice guy thing is just an act. Maybe underneath it, you're just another privileged man punching down and calling it comedy. Ricky's jaw tightened. Punching down? He repeated. Right. Because making fun of powerful people, institutions, and hypocrisy, that's punching down to you? You make fun of everyone, Lorraine shot back. You don't discriminate. You just take aim at whoever gives you material. And you call that fairness. I call it cruelty dressed up as wit. The tension was unbearable now. Every breath, every pause electric with discomfort. You're an equal opportunity offender. Is that supposed to make it better? Lorraine said, her tone dripping with sarcasm. It means I'm not targeting vulnerable people, Ricky replied, keeping his composure. I'm challenging ideas and beliefs, not attacking individuals for who they are. Tell that to the people who feel attacked by your jokes, Lorraine snapped back. Feeling attacked and being attacked are two different things, Ricky said firmly. If I make a joke about religion, I'm not attacking religious people. I'm questioning the ideas. People can believe whatever they want. But you think those ideas are stupid, Lorraine pressed. Some of them, yes, Ricky admitted. And that's my right. Just like it's your right to think my comedy is stupid. But I'm not sitting here calling you names or questioning your character. Maybe you should, Lorraine said with a smirk. Might make for better television. Ricky shook his head, genuinely stunned. This is surreal. You're actually proud of how you're behaving right now? I'm being honest, Lorraine said coldly. Something you claim to value. There's a difference between honesty and cruelty, Ricky said, his voice low but steady. You can be honest without being mean. You can ask tough questions without making it personal. Everything's personal, Lorraine replied. That's what you don't get. When you make jokes about people's beliefs, their identities, their lives, that's personal to them. You don't get to hide behind the word comedy and pretend it makes everything okay. I'm not hiding behind anything, Ricky said, his patience clearly fraying. Comedy is supposed to challenge us. It's meant to make people uncomfortable sometimes. That's how we think differently, how we grow. Or maybe, Lorraine said, leaning forward with venom in her eyes, it's just how you justify being cruel. That was the breaking point. Ricky stood up suddenly. The audience gasped. The tension in the room snapped like a wire. He looked down at Lorraine, his expression a mix of disappointment and disbelief. You know what? I don't need this. I came here in good faith, ready to have a real conversation. But you clearly just wanted a fight, so I'm done. Lorraine blinked, startled for the first time. You're leaving? Yes, I'm leaving, Ricky said, unclipping his mic. I don't have to sit here and be insulted. You can think whatever you want about me, but I'm not staying to let you treat me like garbage on live television. See? Lorraine said, turning to the camera. This is what happens when you challenge him. He runs away. Ricky stopped mid-step, then turned back. His tone was calm, but there was steel in it. I'm not running away. I'm choosing not to participate in whatever this is. There's a difference. You wanted to make yourself look good by tearing me down. But I'm not playing along. I'm just doing my job, Lorraine said defensively. No, you're not, Ricky said, his voice clear and controlled now, like a man reclaiming the air. Your job is to have conversations, to ask questions, even tough ones. But with respect, what you're doing is something else entirely. And I don't know if you're having a bad day or if you just don't like me. But either way, this isn't journalism. It's bitterness dressed up as broadcasting. Lorraine stood too, her voice rising. Fine, leave. Prove my point. You can't handle criticism. This isn't criticism, Ricky said, pulling off his mic. This is a personal attack, and I don't care how long you've been on television. You don't get to treat people this way. People? Lorraine scoffed. You're not people, Ricky. You're a celebrity. You signed up for this. I signed up to be a comedian, he replied. Not to be ambushed and insulted by someone who's supposed to be a professional. There's a line, Lorraine, and you crossed it 10 minutes ago. The crew froze. The cameras kept rolling. Every eye in the studio was on them. So that's it. Lorraine called after him as he started walking toward the exit. You're just gonna storm off like a child? Ricky stopped, turned back one final time. No, he said evenly. I'm walking away like an adult who knows when a situation isn't worth engaging with anymore. You wanted a viral moment, Lorraine. You got it. Just not the way you planned. Her face twisted. What's that supposed to mean? It means, Ricky said, his voice quiet but cutting. Everyone watching this will see exactly who the problem is. I came here to talk about my work. You turned it into a personal attack. And they'll see that. They'll know. Lorraine's face flushed crimson. You think you're so clever. Ricky looked at her for a long moment. Not angry anymore, just sad. No, he said softly. I just think I deserve better than this. Everyone does. With that, he turned and walked off set. The studio doors closed behind him with a dull final thud. The audience sat in stunned silence. Lorraine stood frozen, microphone still on, her composure cracking for the first time. She looked around at the cameras, then at the crew, as though waiting for someone to rescue her. Well, she said finally, forcing out a laugh that didn't sound like one. I guess that's that. No one laughed back. A few murmurs rippled through the crowd. Someone whispered, that was too far. The bright morning energy had drained from the room, replaced by an uneasy quiet. What had begun as harmless television had turned into something else entirely. Raw, uncomfortable, and impossible to forget. Backstage, Ricky was already packing up, his expression somewhere between disbelief and fatigue. A producer hurried toward him, headset askew, voice trembling with apology. Ricky, I'm so sorry, the producer blurted, hands raised as if to physically hold the situation together. She's under a lot of pressure right now. Ratings, network demands. It's been rough. She didn't mean for it to go like that. Ricky gave a small, incredulous laugh. Didn't mean to? Come on. She came in swinging before I even opened my mouth. He slung his bag over his shoulder, his tone calm but resolute. Look, I get it. I've been doing this long enough to recognize when something's gone off script. That wasn't a conversation. That was a setup. She just wanted a moment. The producer tried again. Something to get people talking. At my expense, Ricky said quietly. No thanks. I've been in this business long enough to know when I'm being used. She didn't want an interview. She wanted a spectacle, and I'm not giving her another second of it. He gave the producer a polite nod and walked toward the exit, every step echoing with finality. Back on set, Lorraine sat rigidly in her chair. The next segment had started, but her trademark warmth was gone. Her voice wavered slightly as she read from the teleprompter. The audience could feel the unease radiating from her, could sense that something had shifted. Even the guests looked unsettled, smiling too hard, glancing toward the empty chair where Ricky had sat moments before. During the next commercial break, the audience buzzed in low murmurs. That wasn't an interview, one woman whispered. That was bullying. Another shook her head. Yeah, I thought this was supposed to be lighthearted. She just kept going after him. By the time the cameras stopped rolling for the day, the consensus was unmistakable. Lorraine had gone too far. Within hours, the clip was everywhere. Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, morning radio. People replayed it frame by frame. The tension in Ricky's face, the icy tone in Lorraine's voice, the exact moment he decided he'd had enough. Headlines appeared within the hour. Ricky Gervais walks out on Lorraine's show after heated exchange. Talk show host crosses the line. Viewers side with Gervais. From tough questions to personal attacks, where's the line? Online, the debate raged. Some defended Lorraine, insisting that Ricky had built his career on provocation and should be able to handle pushback. But that argument didn't hold. Most agreed that this wasn't pushback. It was hostility. Comment sections filled with versions of the same sentiment. You can challenge someone's views without tearing them down. There's a difference between holding someone accountable and humiliating them. She didn't interview him. She ambushed him. Clips were slowed down and dissected by body language experts. Pundits discussed the ethics of on-air confrontation. Think pieces appeared overnight about the cost of viral television and the death of professional discourse, but one moment in particular became the turning point. The instant Lorraine called Ricky the villain. Viewers froze. That single accusation delivered with venom shifted the entire tone. Up until then, the conversation had been tense but salvageable. After that, it became personal. Comedy fans and public figures alike rallied to Ricky's defense. They reminded people that his comedy, though provocative, had always aimed higher than cruelty. He punched up, not down. He mocked hypocrisy, not humanity. And above all, he faced his critics with openness, not defensiveness. What happened on the Lorraine show wasn't about comedy, they said. It was about dignity. Meanwhile, Lorraine's defenders faltered. Her intention to challenge Ricky was drowned out by the optics of hostility. The public didn't see courage. They saw contempt, and the irony was hard to miss. In trying to create a viral gotcha moment, Lorraine had done exactly what Ricky warned about. She had confused cruelty with honesty, spectacle with truth. The clip went viral, yes, but not in the way she'd hoped. By evening, Understand with, Ricky was trending across social media. Lorraine's team issued a brief statement about passionate television and honest discourse, but it did little to stop the backlash, because people had seen what really happened. Entertainer trying to engage in good faith, and a host so consumed with making a point that she forgot the simplest rule of all. Respect the person sitting across from you. It made her look like someone who had let her personal feelings cloud her judgment. And in the court of public opinion, that's a hard thing to recover from. The fallout didn't just tarnish one interview. It reignited a broader conversation about what modern interview culture had become. When did tough questioning turn into ambush? When did holding someone accountable become synonymous with humiliation? And when did basic civility stop being part of the job? Tough questions have their place. That's how journalism holds power to account. But there's a line between pressure and cruelty, between probing and provoking. A skilled interviewer can push boundaries without crossing them. They can challenge someone's ideas without tearing at their character. They can create unforgettable television without resorting to disrespect. Lorraine had failed on every count. What made it worse was her posture of pride. The way she doubled down even as Ricky walked away. She tried to frame it as his weakness, telling the audience he couldn't take criticism, that he was running away. But everyone watching could see the truth. Ricky hadn't run from criticism. He had walked away from abuse. He had drawn a boundary, calmly, clearly, and publicly, sending a message louder than any argument could. I don't have to tolerate this. And he was right. In the days that followed, support for Ricky poured in. Comedians, actors, and journalists alike spoke out. Not just about that moment, but about the pattern it represented. They shared stories of hosts who had mistaken cruelty for courage, who used confrontation as a shortcut to relevance. Ricky's walkout became more than an isolated flashpoint. It became a statement about professionalism, respect, and power dynamics in the media. It said, guests have rights too. It said, integrity matters more than ratings. It said, a platform isn't a weapon. Some speculated there must have been more to the story, some unseen tension or off-camera slight that explained Lorraine's hostility. But nothing credible surfaced. There was no secret feud, no scandal, no hidden motive, just one simple, devastating truth. She had decided to go after him, whether for drama, for attention, or out of some personal grudge, no one could say. Whatever her reasons, the outcome was the same. She had damaged her own reputation far more than she had damaged his. Ricky came out of the debacle looking composed, principled, a man who knew his worth and refused to compromise it. Lorraine came out looking petty, mean-spirited, and unprofessional. The entire episode served as a lesson, not just for television hosts, but for anyone in a position of influence. How you treat people matters. Being clever isn't an excuse for cruelty. Being provocative isn't a license for humiliation. And when you cross that line, there are consequences, both moral and professional. For Ricky Gervais, those 46 seconds when everything fell apart weren't just a defense of himself. They were a defense of something larger, the principle that respect is not a favor. It's a baseline. He didn't shout. He didn't retaliate. He simply stood, drew a line, and walked away. In that quiet act of defiance, he reminded millions watching that dignity is not negotiable, respect is not optional, and sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is look someone in the eye, refuse to engage in your own humiliation, and say, "No, I deserve better than this," and mean it.